in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, and I'm reading verse 1. And a dragon stood on the shore of the sea. And this verse, I said, like last time I said, this verse is kind of misinterpreted. So it is said or claimed. It could also read, and I stood on the shore of the sea. Now, both ways I do not want to, make big of it. But whether the dragon stood or John stood, both wouldn't make much of a difference. John stood on the edge of the sea and was watching, or the dragon stood on the end of the sea. Because if you see on the next part of that verse, it says, "And I saw a beast coming out of the sea." So whether John was standing and watching a beast coming out, or whether the dragon was standing and watching the beast coming out, wouldn't matter much. Why the argument is because people assume that the dragon and the beast are the same person. So if the dragon was on the shore, how it can come out of the sea? That's the confusion. So they try to split hairs on this to make this, it's not the dragon, or the dragon is on the shore and all that. So whatever. The point is the dragon is a different person and the beast is a different person. That's very clear as you go on ahead. The dragon is whom? As explained in chapter 12, the dragon is the devil, the serpent, the ancient serpent. The beast is whom? The beast is somebody that we will come to know in this chapter. So there are two different people, or personalities. So the dragon was stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. And so the beast that came out of the sea. Now, what do you mean the beast came out of the sea? It's not some kind of a creature that comes out of the sea and, having a long tail and slithering around or whatever. The sea, later on in the chapters, in the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 15, it says that the sea are the people of the world. So, the beast comes out of the people of the world. In other words, he is birthed out of human beings. But he is a beast. So he is not a human, but he is a beast. And why does the Bible call him a beast? We'll come back to that later on, but he is not called a man. He is coming out of the people, but he is called a beast. Okay? So, this beast coming out of the sea, he had 10 horns and 7 heads, and 10 crowns on his horns. So he had how many horns? 10. He had 10 horns and 7 heads, and 10 crowns on his horns. So every horn had a crown, and there were 7 heads. So if you could count this, there were 17 separate stuffs that identified him. Just go to chapter 12 and see what is there. In chapter 12, verse 3, you see, then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. Is this the same? 7 heads and 10 horns. And 7 crowns on its heads. So what is different over here? In chapter 12, the crowns are on the heads. In chapter 13, the crowns are on the horns. In chapter 12, the crowns are on the head, and since there are 7 heads, there are only 7 crowns. In chapter 13, since there are 10 horns, there are 10 crowns. So what is this? Now what you got to understand is, chapter 12 is the dragon, chapter 13 is the beast. Okay? So chapter 12 is resembling Satan, who is now holding the 7 heads who are kings or are crowned as kings. When you say crown, you would call them kings or heads of authority. They have a crown. They have some kind of identification which is crowned. They are not simple people. So 7 heads of state who have crowns, and he has with him in his team 10 kings. Okay? When you go to chapter 13, the beast, when the beast comes, now the beast, remember, the beast when he is introduced, he is introduced into the next part of the 3.5 years, not the first part. The beast comes in the second part of the 7 years. That is the 3.5 years, the second, the B part. When the beast comes, he has toppled off the crowns from the heads. That's why the crowns have the heads have no crowns. Is this clear? By the time there's a shift from the first 3.5 years to the second 3.5 years, that tells you in the first 3.5 years, these 7 heads had power. In the second part of the 7 years, the second 3.5 years, these 7 heads don't have power. He's toppled off their power. He has made them powerless. They remain as heads but no authority. So they don't have crowns. But the horns have crowns. The horns are kings, they will have crowns. The horns still have crowns, or he's given them crowns. He's given them authority. Are you with me so far? Now I want you to understand this. In today's world, in our world, which king has got authority? They are king. They are kings in their kingdom, but there is no much authority of them in the world. But in our world today, the heads of state have got all the authority, right?
Yes.
The presidents of countries have big say. This president, that president, everybody says big things, or prime ministers. Is this clear? That's what will be carried into the first part of the 7-year period. Is this getting clear to you? The heads of states will have much of a say in the first part of the 7-year period. By the time it shifts to the second part of the 7-year period, the heads of states will be powerless. No say. Is this getting clear to you? The say will be given to the kings, the 10 kings. But when you go to chapter 17, they will be given authority only for a short while, it says. So even there, he is not giving them authority for all the 3.5-year period, only for a short while. Then he will take back all the authority from everybody, and he will be the only sole authority. That's what chapter 17 will clarify. So right now, when the beast comes up, he has disabled the heads of state, and the 10 kings have got some authority. That's the scene where it stands. Is this clear? Shall we go ahead from there? Okay, good. Okay. And on each head, a blasphemous name. So the head of states had blasphemous names, and in everybody's head there was a blasphemous title. But the word blasphemous actually is directly talking about, or specifically talking about, anything that claims to be God or opposes God. So these 7 heads will be opposing God or claiming to be God. That is their titles. That will be on their head. That will be their identity. Verse 2. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. So he was resembling a leopard, which is swift, the feet of a bear, which is sturdy and slow, and the mouth of a lion, which devours. So he had these characteristics in him. That's the beast. Also, the leopard resembled the Alexandrian kingdom. The bear resembled the Medo-Persian kingdom, and the lion resembled the Babylonian kingdom, as recorded in the book of Daniel, chapter 7. Daniel explains this to us. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. Now, the dragon has a throne. A throne is a place of authority, a place of command. The beast gets the devil's place. So he's giving, the beast is getting great power from the devil, getting the very place of the devil and the authority from the devil, the beast. So remember, the beast is one of the people who is getting all these things from the devil. He's being empowered to the max by the devil himself. The beast is one of the people. Verse 3. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. Now, one of the heads of the beast, or in this beast that had all these heads, the 10 crowns and the 7 heads, one of the heads seemed to have, that means it's in the past tense, seemed to have a fatal wound. That means one of the fellows of these 17 fellows was assassinated upon, a fatal wound, and he was like shot in the head. The head had that resemblance of a fatal wound, but that fatality did not occur. In other words, he did not die. That assassination attempt, which should take his life, doesn't take his life. He doesn't die. Or rather, chapter 17 clarifies it to say, he dies and comes back to life. That's what it says. And that's why people begin to think he is God. Because only God can come back to life. And so, he is having this identity in him. So, one of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was astonished and followed the beast. Because that wound healed, the whole world was astonished at this miracle. Now you got to remember, by the time this beast is now appearing on the world scene, the world is desperate for a rescuer. They don't want the option of God, they want some other rescuer, because the world wants to keep the world, keep this earth. They don't want to surrender to God. They want to keep their ways and keep this earth. And so they want somebody to come and take over and rescue them. They want a great world leader. So they do not see anybody greater than this guy who even came back to life. So they were astonished and they began to worship him. Now if you go with me to the book of Zechariah chapter 11, which is a very interesting recording over there, the book of Zechariah chapter 11. Zechariah has a lot of prophecies with regard to the beast or the Antichrist or this fellow who will rule the world in the last stage. So, the book of Zechariah chapter 11 and I'm reading verse 17. Woe to the worthless shepherd who deserts the flock. May the sword strike his arm and his right eye. May his arm be completely withered, his right eye totally blinded. So there's a prophecy over here which shows that this fellow, the worthless shepherd, the one who is the leader, who portrays as a shepherd, but the Bible calls him a worthless shepherd, may the sword, come upon him and cut off his right hand and wound his eye. So he will lose use of his right hand. May the sword strike his arm. So it will strike him. The assassination attempt, it is either an assassination attempt or accident or whatever, but the prophecy says, may the sword. So there is a weapon that is being used, and the prophecy says it will hurt him badly. His right arm will be withered. Now, when the word of God talks about the right hand, it also talks about his power. So his right arm, which is his power arm, his power wing, all that his strength will be already challenged and will be withered. So he will not have use of his right arm and his right eye. His arm will be completely withered and his right eye totally blinded. So he'll become a one-eye jack. He'll become a one-eye jack. And that's where you get the Illuminati sign and the all-knowing eye sign on the pyramid and all those things. The one eye is there. It all comes from these prophecies where even the dark world picks it up and uses it as their identity. Even if you cross-check, you will find many business symbols having one eye on them. They all kind of want to affiliate themselves by this symbolic or this symbol connection to show that they belong to that one eye society, or they want this world and that they want that one eye guy to rule this world to save them. So they are formed a society and they want this one world government. They're trying to plan it and take it out of every hope of whatever may be there, or even God's hand. That's their hope. They want to try to get this out even out of God's hand. That's the plan. Anyway, but the other thing that I want to point out over here is, you will also see that most of the heavy metal bands, band lead singers will have their hair in such a manner that you will only see one of them. Have you noticed that? Their hair will be right in front of them, and only one eye they will be showing. So most of the time they cover the other eye with their hair. And that's another sign that you can read that what are they kind of portrayed? They're portraying the one eye that the Bible is talking about, which actually is pointing out to the beast, the ultimate beast. So they are kind of affiliating themselves to this beast to say, we are your supporters, we want to stand with you or whatever. And there was a girl, a person that I noticed the whole time she would cover one eye with her hair as a style. And I would get very, knowing these things, I would get very uncomfortable. And I should tell her, don't do this, show her the verses and all that. But somehow it was not going well, because nobody likes to take correction somehow, especially from the Word of God. Not nobody, mostly it's not easily digestible. Nobody likes to be told your style is not good. Anyway, but that one eye, hiding one eye kind of symbolism is all springing out of here. And so if there is something that is troubling you that way, or it's better to pray about it and get out of it. God has given us two eyes and we need two eyes. The brain will function better if you use both eyes. Okay, so going on from there, this guy's wound kind of affects his looks. He may end up with a pirate look, with a one eye lost look, and shrunk face look, and a withered hand look. So now he looks completely inhuman in that sense, with one side limp and one hand, trying to look through the other eye, and the pirate look like, but still ruling the whole world with his brutal 3.5 years. He's going to show a lot of brute force. So The whole world was astonished and followed the beast. Verse 4 says, men worshipped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast. And they also worshipped the beast and asked, who is like the beast? Who can make war against him? The people of the world are so happy. They worship the dragon, they worship the devil, direct worship of the devil. That the devil has given the authority to this fellow now who will save us. He's going to save us with all the power and authority and throne and all those things. And they worship this fellow also. God, our only Savior, Baba, only you can help us and change the world for us and save us. You can only save us. Our economy, our health condition, our sanitation, our water problems. Because there are water problems. The rivers are affected. The forest is affected. The atmosphere is affected. Almost everything is affected by now. By the earthquakes and by all the meteors and all those things that has bombarded this earth, this planet. This fellow, only you, they worship him. Okay, and who can make war? Who can stand against him? Who is able to stand against him? Everybody just listen to him. That's what the whole world is singing about. Verse 5. The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise his authority for 42 months, which is precisely 3.5 years. In the Bible calendar, that is, the biblical calendar. See, he was given a mouth, and Daniel calls this mouth the mouth that devours, which has got iron teeth. And he was given this mouth, and this mouth is spewing words of proud words and blasphemies. Proud words and blasphemies. You can imagine the language he's using. Proudly talking, like nothing can stop him, that kind of a thing. A world hero, no? And blasphemies. And to exercise his authority. That's the point. Just think about it. He exercises his authority for 42 months. My goodness. And the authority is given to him by whom? By the devil himself, by the dragon. Imagine the kind of authority that he will exercise, the devilish authority that he will exercise for 42 months. He opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. You can imagine what he's telling God. You can imagine how he is slandering God who's in heaven, challenging him. You dare not try anything and we will finish you, because he feels he's got the power of the beast, power of the dragon. It's unmatchable power, that's what he's thinking. Pride does these things to you. Pride makes you think ultimative person. Pride makes you think that way. So he's saying all kind of things to God. To slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. Who lives in heaven, by the way? Who's living in heaven? Who's living in heaven? Who's living in heaven?
The Lord, we, and
the angels, Lord, we. The angels, God, is we.
That's the point. See, he is talking about, or rather, I am looking at it this way. See, God, angels are always the ones who are in heaven. So he's slandering God, and I understand. But those who live in heaven is a good point for you to hold on to, which talks about the raptured church. Those who are in heaven right now, the body of Christ. He is slandering the church. And one of the things he may say is, the ones who ran away, you cowards, who gave up on us on this earth and went away, that kind of a thing. He's talking about the ones who have been raptured. See, these are the clues to tell you that the church is missing from the earth. He's gone out. He wants the church to completely dismantle the church, to completely torture the church. He cannot get them, they are already in heaven. So he's slandering the ones, those who live in heaven. Verse 7, he was given power to make war against the saints and to conquer them. Verse 7, he was given power to make war against the saints and to conquer them. Now this is the controversy. On one side you are saying that the church is raptured, on the other side you are saying he's made war on the saints. Now this is the controversy. This is where the churches pick up on and are confused and the arguments begin. But in that very verse is the clue. It says, he was given power to make war against the saints and to conquer them. That's the clue. Remember, Jesus said something. Jesus said, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail. Did he say that about his church? The gates of Hades shall not prevail. This is Jesus' words. Here it says, he will conquer them. That means he gets them into his grasp. So it's talking about a different group of people. It's not talking about the church. The church is not here. Are you with me so far? Are you following what I'm saying? This is the people who become Christian later on after seeing what is happening and understanding what was being preached, and who did not accept the gospel when they had to, heard it and just ignored it. But now they see what is happening. It's all exactly what was already spoken of. Then you have the 144,000 who gave the gospel. Then you have the 2 witnesses. Then there were the angels who spoke. And then these people are now wanting salvation. They are called the saints who are still here, who then change their heart. And God is a God, righteous God. And that's why they're called the saints, because they're willing to turn their heart even in that moment. And so, these saints, he will conquer. Oh, I see, now you want Jesus. I am here, you still want Jesus. He conquers. These are the words. So, there's no confusion, it's not talking about the church. The church cannot be conquered. Jesus himself said that. You getting me? And he was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. He was given authority over every tribe. That means nobody escapes him. Chapter 12 said God took care of the nation of Israel. But every other tribe, language, nation, he is given authority over. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast. All whose names have not been written in the book of life belonging to the Lord, belonging to the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. So all the inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast. That means everybody will ultimately worship him. In fact, they will be forced to worship him, to submit him in worship. It's not like he is the president, he will do what he is doing, I will live as a citizen. No, you got to worship him. You got to worship him. Spend time in worship for him. There is no option. They will be forced into worship. See, on one side they are like happy that he is the president and they worship him, but on the other side they realize now he is forcing worship from him. Drastically worship. Did you know about dictators who force worship from their subjects, from their countrymen? It's crazy. Think about it. In history, what has happened where the dictators has forced worship, and how many people suffer under this. Over here, the whole world, all inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast. All whose names have not been written. That again gives you a clue. Even in this, all the world, some of them, their names are written in the Lamb's book of life, because they have turned their hearts. But all whose names were not written in that book, they will only worship. You getting the point? So So when we receive the Lord, when we give our heart to the Lord, our name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life. The name being written over there itself is empowering us, giving us grace. The rest of them will worship Him. And it clarifies to say the names, all whose names have not been written in the book of life belonging to the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. So the plan was from the very creation of the world, the Lamb will be slain. The Lamb that will pay the price for this world. And then it kind of gives you a reminder. He who has an ear, let him hear. Who used the statement before? The Lord Himself. In all the letters and in the parables also, the kingdom parables. He who has an ear, let him hear. Now, if you see this statement, he who has an ear, let him hear, and in this chapter 13, then you could consider that this statement is also pointing out to eschatology, pointing out to the end time understanding. Wherever you see who has an ear, let him listen, let him pay attention, let him understand. You must also consider possibly that part of scripture is talking about end times. He who has an ear, let him hear. Verse 10. If anyone is to go into captivity he will go. What do you think? What do you mean by this? If anyone is to go into captivity he will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword he will be killed. What? In other words, what will happen, man. What has to happen. Don't try to pray and change it. Don't try to pray and change the situation. This situation is not going to change. It's going to happen. You get the point? Anyone who goes into captivity will go into captivity. Anybody has to be killed by the sword will be killed by the sword. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of the saints. Specifically talking about those saints or those people who will be caught at those times and tortured. They'll be tortured severely for their faith in the Lord. You know, many think, okay, if I miss the rapture, I will give my heart to the Lord. It's not easy at that time. It's not so easy. You know, the torture is going to be, is going to be something that you know about the kind of torture is going to be. And the Word of God says, if it has to happen, it's going to happen. Don't you cry out and say, Lord will come and help me and Lord and change the situation. It's not going to change. It's going to happen. So, calls for patient endurance. Patiently endure the torture. Patiently endure the torture. Don't change your mind lest you will go to hell. Calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of the saints. You could ask a question. And the question would be simply, why? Why? Why will not change if you pray? Why? 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 Nobody's asking the question, why?
Why?
Why it will not change? Why this torture cannot be stopped?
Because the prophecy and God gave you so much of time to think about it. Last 20
Okay, yes, but these fellows have now received the Lord. They have won salvation, they have turned the heart to the Lord. But they are getting into severe torture. Why there is no way out for them? They will be tortured. Why is it so?
So they rejected
The
it
way
in
of
the story.
celebration, the sin were actually persistent.
Okay.
When they were told before, it's not like they were not told before and they rejected, now they would accept it.
Okay. Think about it like this. This time has been given to the beast. God has given the time to the beast.
So God will not do anything.
So He is not going to interfere with that time now. It's given, 3.5 months is given to him. 3.5 years has been given to
At the
him.
same time, he was on the earth.
Yeah. So He's not going to interfere. So what has to happen will happen. That's why It's not going to change. But you be patient in this time, lest you will lose out. You get the point? Because God is not going to be interfering and unjust in this manner, or unrighteous in this manner, that He's given the time and still interfere. In that sense, what has happened now? You be patient and endure, because you have chosen that time. You are in that time and you have chosen. You will be rewarded, but you be patient and endure. That is for those who don't take it now. That's precisely for those who do not listen now, who do not accept now. It's for them. It's for them, precisely for them. Because there's another verse also for the ones who do not accept now. There's another verse. They will be given over to a strong delusion that they will only believe the lie. In other words, people are thinking, if I'm not raptured, then I will then give my heart to the Lord. The Word of God says God doesn't allow that. The ones who knew everything and rejected, they will not be able to give their heart later on. That's what the Word of God actually says. They will be given over to their delusion and they will not be able to give their heart. This is for the ones who never knew and then understood certain things. They have got the grace. Are you understanding? So you can't, it's like saying, I will take God for a ride. Right now I will enjoy my pleasures, and after rapture I'll come to Him. You can't take God for a ride. So it will not work for that kind of a concept. This is for the people who never knew much and now genuinely are receiving it. Is that okay?